You do not need to be liked by everybody. You need to choose your friends and your enemies carefully.
Stop taking life so seriously. No one is getting out of this game alive. And in 3 generations, no one will even remember your name. And if that doesn't give you liberation to just drop your problems for a moment and find some joy, I don't know what will. Because there'll never be a time when there's no problems in life. And that's why this time in between Christmas and New Year is a really wonderful time to plan big dreams and goals for the year.
So let's talk about that.
Chris Williamson is one of the world's leading podcast hosts and thinkers, and now he's back.
Educating us on how to build discipline, turning goals into results, what's stopping us finding love,
and what makes a good man in today's society.
The single best question to work out what you should be doing next year. What would have to happen by the end of 2026 for me to look back and consider it a success? And it usually comes down to only a few things. The first one is, in order to pick something up, you have to put something down. So setting the bar unrealistically high does not increase your performance. Like, you'd probably lose 20 pounds and get a boyfriend. You can't do that and move cities and start a new business. So make the assumption, I can do no more than I'm doing now. Second thing, if your life was a movie and the audience were watching, what would they be screaming at the screen, telling you to do with your life? It is obvious. Leave the relationship. The job is not working for you. The killer's hiding in the cupboard. Because if you're not careful with how you design what it is that you chase after, you can spend your entire life realizing that you climbed a huge ladder that was leaning up against the wrong wall.
And is there anything else?
So there is wonderful upside in trying to conquer and trying to achieve mastery, trying to really drive yourself to go and do stuff. But I'm not like, your feelings, just hustle and grind until your eyes bleed either. Because one of the biggest lessons I've taken away from this year is suppression isn't the same thing as strength. And it's a good thing for guys who feel their emotions to show that they feel their emotions, right? Like, I've been at some of my lowest points over the last 12 months. It felt like my better self was slipping through my fingers. I realized my emotions are legitimate. And denying myself that is not helping anything at all.
What happened? I see messages all the time in the comments section that some of you didn't realize you didn't subscribe. So if you could do me a favor and double check if you're a subscriber to this channel, that would be tremendously appreciated. It's the free thing that anybody that watches this show frequently can do to help us here, to keep everything going in this show in the trajectory it's on. So please do double check if you subscribed. And thank you so much, because in a strange way, you're part of our history and you're on this journey with us. And I appreciate you for that. So yeah, thank you. Chris, my audience care a lot about changing their life for the better. And I think at this time of year, change is front of mind for everybody. Everybody's thinking about New Year's resolutions, who I want to become in 2026. But when you look at the stats, 23% of people quit by the end of the first week of January, their New Year's resolution, the thing they aimed at. Roughly half of people will quit their New Year's resolution, the change they sought, by the end of January, and only about 9% of people will keep their New Year's resolution for the full year. So I guess my opening question to you is, does this time of year matter at all? Is it a useful, productive time to be thinking about change in your point of view?
I think the world is split into 2 camps. One camp says there is no difference between January 1st and December 31st. Like, why wait? It's December 10th, just do it now. And the other camp likes the idea of there being a culturally appropriate moment to stop doing something and start doing something else. Most people need to realize that they're already spending tons of time worrying about the future and the past. They're going back to this thing that they regret. I wish I'd done this differently. I have...
Okay, because the past is the past, and knowing or the past will change us into any way, shape, or form. The past is the past. We can change the past if we want to, which is why we have a pen to rewrite our story in any way, shape, or form, is what I think he's going to lead to.
Rumination about something that occurred. Yep. I have a sense of wistfulness for something that I've maybe missed. I'm grief for something that I've lost. And then they're concerned about the future. They think, I'm uncertain about this thing that's going to happen. I could plan, I could try and come up with a solution for this. So you're already worrying about the past. You're already doing reflection and planning, just in a very unstructured way where you don't get to choose when it hits you in the face. This is a culturally appropriate moment, like a scheduling appropriate moment for you to just step in and think, okay, in between Christmas and New Year, People that work in retail, God bless you. People that have got to go back to work and do that thing. But usually there's a bit of downtime. It's a little bit slower. It's Boxing Day, you're chilling out on the couch. And you're kind of thinking, wow, I was here again at mum and dad's house or with the in-laws or whatever. What was I doing last year? What was it like last year? You're already in a little bit of a reflective mode. There is no special magic super secret squirrel sauce in January 1st. But it is a good moment to check in because life tends to slow down a little bit. Work time is a little bit more slow. And you're already doing this. You're already thinking about the past and the future, and this is just a good structured opportunity to check in.
The worst state to live in right now is Minnesota, and nobody's talking about it. I've spent 30 years in the insurance industry. What I'm about to tell you will explain why Minnesota pays more for car insurance and how you could fix it and save up to 80% on your rate. Let me make this simple. If you're paying over $75 a month, you're being overcharged. Drivers in Minnesota are being charged almost 2 times more for the same coverage compared to the rest of the country. Because you pay the most, the industry sees Minnesota as one giant cash cow, and most people have no clue why. You have the lowest claim frequency, are the safest drivers in the country, and still pay the highest rates. And here's the part no one talks about. Most people don't realize there's a new way to force them to recalculate your rate because no one told you yet. My best friend Alan lives in Minneapolis, perfect record, had been paying $170 a month for 15 years. I told him to try my website. He found the same coverage for $68. That's a 60% reduction just by going through my website instead of theirs. But they won't call you with a better rate. Why would they? They don't want to lower your rate if they don't have to. You need to be proactive. Go through my service and get what you deserve. When you reach my website, just fill out an application. Take some...
And do it.
I guess the question that everybody should be asking themselves is, what should I aim at? And is there such a thing as aiming at too many things? What is a good goal for change? When you think about all the people you've interviewed and the change you've seen in your own life, what does a productive New Year's resolution or productive goal sound like? And how do I get there?
Yeah, it's very overwhelming. If you realize, wow, I can do anything I want. I could look at my entire life. That's terrifying. That's absolutely terrifying. One thing I would say, this is your opportunity to change anything. Behaviorally, you can change anything you want.
You have the pen to rewrite your story, which means you can change it anytime you want. It just depends upon what you're looking for within that change. Behaviorally, spiritually, physically, mentally, you can change anything you want because you have the pen to rewrite your story. And you can change in any way, shape, or form, is what he's implying.
Everything you want, right? That's the problem. You can become anything you want behaviorally, but you can't be everything you want. So you need to pick a small number. The single best question to work out what you should be doing next year. What would have to happen by the end of 2026 for me to look back on 2026 and consider it a success? I think that really helps to just give you a bit more perspective. And it usually comes down to only a few things. You don't usually have so much in your mind when you do that. Setting the bar unrealistically high does not increase your performance. Imagine this. Imagine that you went into a buffet and you made your plate as big as possible. You said, I want all of these things. I'm going to put all of this stuff on my plate. And my stomach is going to expand to be able to fit it. That's not the way that our stomachs work. And that is not the way that our workloads work. So, first rule, in order to pick something up, you have to put something down.
Yep. Without picking something up, you must put something down to different things, because if you don't put it down, you'll still continue doing on that same exact thing.
Don't assume that just because you've loaded more onto your workload plate, your work capacity will expand to be able to fit it into your stomach. Like, that's not the way that it works. Make the assumption, I can do no more than I'm doing now. I can switch stuff, but I can't add more in. Maybe you can. Maybe you're going to be able to squeeze your phone time. Maybe you're going to be able to become more efficient, more productive, whatever. But it's safer to just assume this is the pie that I'm playing with. And in order to pick something up, I have to put something down. So that's a really important thing, because at the moment, it's December 29th I'm full of gusto and motivation and I can't wait, I'm going to crush it. And yeah, for the first week, maybe you've got that. But if you're using motivation and enthusiasm to work yourself through your goals are predicated largely on a fuel source that you don't have control over. You don't have a massive amount of control over your motivation over a long amount of time. Like it comes and then it goes. You want something that's a little bit more rigid. So in order to pick something up, you have to put something down.
I think that's a really important point because when we think about the goals we'll start setting at this time of the year, all of them are asking for more time or more energy. Like pretty much all of them ask for, I want to start running, I want to start going to the gym. Whereas, as you say, that means I'm going to have to take something off the plate.
Yep.
And we don't think about subtraction at this time of the year typically. We don't think I'm going to spend less time with my friends. I'm going to cut out Netflix. We think of addition.
Mm-hmm.
But logically, there's still just the 24 hours in a day and the finite amount of body budget that we have in terms of energy. So are you saying that I have to create both an addition and subtraction list and make sure that they net out to zero?
That would be optimal. I think one question that you really should be asking yourself, let's go through a bunch of uncomfortable questions people can ask themselves. That could be cool.
Okay.
How would I spend my day if I wanted to make 85-year-old me as miserable as possible? What is it that I did over the last year that made me right now feel this constriction?
Okay.
I don't like my relationship with my phone. I spend a lot of time on my phone. I don't like how my mornings aren't very productive. I've noticed that when I'm with my friends, I'm not very present. I've noticed that I spend a lot of time on my own. I tend to isolate when things get difficult. I've noticed that I've got into the habit of not telling the truth when people ask me a question. I've noticed that I've got into the habit of not advocating for my needs when I should do. I don't hold my boundaries sufficiently well. Like, this is why the reflection part's really important. So, what would I do to make 85-year-old me as miserable as possible? How would I spend my day? And in what ways am I already doing that? Well, a lot of those are going to cross over. That Venn diagram is not going to be as far apart as you might think it is.
I've heard you ask the question before about if someone was watching this and it was a movie.
Yeah. So, I mean, this question is so fantastic. If your life was a movie and the audience were watching up to this point, what would they be screaming at the screen, telling you to do with your life? They would be, it is obvious, leave the relationship, the job is not working for you, the killer's hiding in the cupboard. What would the audience be screaming at the screen, telling you to do with your life?
So you've asked 3 questions, and I'm going to ask you those 3 questions.
Okay.
So the first question you asked was about what would have to happen at the end of next year to look back and consider this year a success? Mm-hmm. So for you personally,
I want to spend more time thinking about ideas and less time caught up doing admin. Admin is a drain on me. I don't enjoy emails. I don't enjoy the operations of that sort of stuff.
Spend time making? Or
yeah, I want to be in maker mode, not manager mode.
Okay.
Would be a way to put it. I want to spend more time with my friends. I've been solopreneur, grind, set, pick it up and lift it type thing a lot for the last forever. More time with my friends, more time connecting with people. So that's 2 things. Like if I can do that, spend more time with my friends and less time doing admin. Now, one of the problems that you have is, and I want to lose 20 pounds and I want to get my bench press up to 200 kilos and I want to do this. And it's like, really? Like, do you really, really, really want that? Because when I think about it, I have like much more gentle goals. I have much broader goals. And that's the stuff that I think is important to me.
And if we think about your subtraction framework, what are you going to have to subtract?
Well, what's interesting about those is that actually those aren't necessarily additions. The friends thing is an addition, but the executive functioning thing, the admin burden, is not. So actually that's nice because I want to do less of that thing, which should hopefully open up a little bit of time. What would I need to get rid of? I'd realistically need to get rid of some time sat in front of my computer doing boring admin stuff. I'd probably need to spend less time scrolling on my phone, less time on social media. I would maybe need to make some sacrifices in training as well. If I'm going to go out with my friends a little bit more in an evening, I'm going to have to get up a bit later. So there's some of the trades that we're going to have to make.
The other question was around if this was a movie and the audience was screaming at you, what would they be screaming?
You're already doing enough.
Agreed.
You're already doing enough. Stop whipping yourself into submission, thinking that your happiness sits on the other side of the next set of goals that you're going to achieve. You've already achieved goals that you said would make you happy. So if you haven't made it now, if this isn't when life is going to begin, then when are you going to start? There's this wonderful idea of the deferred life hypothesis. Deferred life hypothesis is basically this sort of common belief that our life hasn't yet begun. That what's happening now is a sort of prelude, it's an intro to our life truly beginning. And upon reflection, what a lot of people realize is that this prelude that they run through was a mirage that sort of faded as they approached. And they were actually just running toward the end of their life. Like they're permanently putting things off. I get it. People have got realistic, structural, monetary requirements. They've got to get up, they've got to go to work, they've got to fucking change the nappy, they've got to walk the dog, they've got things that they need to do. That's not what I'm talking about. My point is, everybody thinks, a lot of people think, in one form or another, that my life will begin when. They're holding their happiness hostage. They're in a holding pattern, like a plane that can't land for some reason. It's like, what if that never changes? What if your problems in life are never, ever going to go away? What if problems are always going to be there? What then? Oh, wow. Well, I'm never going to arrive. That means I need to start living now. And I think for me, there's definitely a lot of, I will get there once the tasks of today are completed, once the problems are gotten through. There'll never be a time when there's no problems in life. Problems are a feature, not a bug.
I sometimes wonder if this is a trait of just human evolution. Like, it makes survival sense for it to be hardwired into my genetic code to strive, to basically continue to strive, like to continue to conquer, to continue to build. And in fact, maybe if my ancestors didn't have that, we wouldn't be sat in a room now with all these lights and fancy cameras and such, because this is the consequence of a species that strive. And so I wonder if this is like the curse of being human, which is we just endlessly strive and then we die. And because we did, our offspring have a higher rate of survival. And like when I speak to people from, like East Asian traditions and stuff, they talk about being at peace and being at one and being satisfied and all these things. But it seems so alien to me to be satisfied. I think I live in a dichotomy where I'm like well aware nothing will change my happiness. And then at the same time, I'm completely striving as if it would.
Well, of course, that's the human condition. We habituate in both directions. So if your ancestors had been satisfied when they got to a cave, when their family grew and they needed a bigger cave, when what? You don't just go and find one bush, you find a ton of bushes and then you expand and that gives you additional security. But unfortunately in the modern world, that causes us with an infinite amount of things that we can do and can chase after. We sacrifice the important for the urgent. The urgent's always in front of us. The email, the next meeting.
Yeah.
And this is, again, why should anybody care about doing an annual review? Should anybody care about the new year? Well, you're busy living your life for almost the entirety of the year. And this is one moment where the urgent can just take a tiny bit of a backseat and the important can come through. Who have I been over the last year? What do I want from next year? Every single year is a chapter of your life. The next year, it's chapter 38 for me. What do I want that chapter to be about?
Because people are like, oh, why do I need to memorize all this stuff if it's available online? And that's a valid point. People aren't memorizing things, they're losing their ability to remember things because they're outsourcing their brains to their smart devices. I mean, everything is kept here so they don't have to be able to keep it here. And the challenge is, I believe that the mind is more like a muscle as opposed to a supercomputer that's use it or lose it, or stronger with use. But a lot of people aren't using it as much as they used to. Because think about it, before technology, how would you have to remember personal history and all your lessons? You would pass it around, like, share it over with stories. And I feel people are losing that ability.
They called him the boy with the broken brain. At 5 years old, Jim Quick fell off a chair and cracked his skull. When he got out of the hospital, his parents noticed something was different about Jim. His brain trauma had left him with severe learning disabilities. He struggled to understand instructions. He struggled to learn and recall information. He couldn't read as well. The more he tried to keep up, the more he began to feel left behind. He even heard his...
Do you think there's a single change you could make to your life that would yield the greatest return on happiness? Like if you could go into your own hardware and rewrite the code a little bit.
I think less striving would actually make me happier. I think that a lot of striving and a desire for success comes from a sense of insufficiency. Like, if only the world recognized my brilliant...
I'm the same way because I have a few insufficiency, whatever the hell I said, and striving for more. I strive to become the best because you are the best. And if you don't know that you are the best, other people will beat you at your own game of where you're seeing your life going. Which means you must become the best to beat the best. Because the best don't quit. The best do not stop. And they don't give a fuck about you because they care more about themselves than you do about other people. There's no point to care if they don't even give a fuck about you in the first place.
Then I will be validated. And it takes a long time to realize that you don't fix internal voids with external accolades. And the problem with that is it's an unteachable. You try and tell people that money won't fix your happiness problem or fame won't.
I mean, money will fix my happiness problem because I can actually live on my own and only work a part-time job. That would be fantabulous. I'd love to have a side business where they make more money, where all I have to do is work a part-time job. I would love for that to happen. But that's why I have to make this to where I see fit for the first 2 years. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up trying. I'm not going to give up doing, because without this business, I would have no right to say what I want to say. I would have nothing to validate my point of what I'm trying to prove, which is a side business can be a big business if you play it the right way.
It's your self-worth problem. You should see your parents more. Time in a hammock is never wasted. You don't love that pretty girl, she's just hot and difficult to get.
I love that hammock one. I love just chilling in the hammock, just vibing out, listening to nature, actually doing what I want to do, saying what I want to say, and just being one with peace, one with nature. I find peace in that. I find serenity in that.
Like all of these things are only lessons that you can learn once you've got there. And people who haven't yet gotten there think, well, that's easy for you to say. And then when they arrive, for some reason, they seem to evangelize the same insights, like somebody that's just gone through religious revelation. So either one of two things is true. People who achieve a thing are lying about the fact that that thing didn't fix their problems, their internal void with external accolades, because of they're part of some cartel that's trying to pull the ladder up after they've just gotten in.
Yeah.
Or it's the truth. But it's an unteachable lesson. You will not understand that that thing outside won't fix your internal void until you get there. And I actually think, it's a Naval quote, it's far easier to achieve our material desires than to renounce them. Like if you want a Ferrari, it's much easier to actually work real hard and try and get some nice car, whatever it is, so that you learn that the car isn't the thing that you want, than it is to rid yourself of the desire for the car overall. And that's not to say that getting a Ferrari is easy. It's to say that getting rid of the desire is essentially impossible.
I think me and you are probably two guys that at some deep level had some kind of internal void. Is that an accurate statement?
Of course. Are you speaking in the past tense?
Have, yeah.
Yeah.
You've now accomplished so much. You're like one of the biggest podcasters on planet Earth. You're famous. People know who you are.
8th biggest in the world, talking to 2nd biggest in the world. Congratulations.
But people know who you are. You've got, money. You've got freedom now. You can go wherever you want, do whatever you want. People know who you are. You get restaurant reservation tables. You did it. Is it what you expected?
I'm hoping to get as big as them too. That's my main hope at the end of the day, which it'll take time and persistence and dedication.
And has it actually changed that internal void?
The interesting thing is, I never actually thought I was going to amount to...
Okay, just add on to this, I also have an internal void. And the internal void dictates your journey along the path of how you say it, create it, and dictate your life, because that's the journey that you will have to go on. By yourself, you have no friends, no relatives. That's the point. You're supposed to do it by yourself. Doing it is better than not doing it.
Much. I was just really interested in what I was doing, what was in front of me. I didn't think this is going to lead to me achieving something or living in America or whatever. Each different step got me there. But no, of course not. Of course. The unteachable lesson has smashed me in the face, which is fame won't fix your self-worth. Money won't make you happy. You should see your parents more. You can take a day off. Like all of these lessons, you have to live them to learn them, unfortunately.
And my last question on this is, when I asked about the change to your code that you'd make, you talked about fixing the striving. What's been the downside of the striving?
There's a common sense of not enoughness. Like, I will be enough when, right? Because you can either run away from something you want or run towards something, run away from something you fear or run towards something you want.
And what's the consequence of that not enoughness?
It's a sense of lack. It's also a provisional life. It's putting life off. I will be happy, satisfied, peaceful when.
And is that a thought you have?
It's more like an embodied sense.
You
like
feel
I feel it. Yeah, I very much feel it. It's this striving, it's this pull, it's this sort of magnetism moving forward. But yeah, dude, if your life was a movie and the audience were watching up to this point, what would they be screaming at the screen telling you to do? It's usually a very reliable indicator of where you should be putting your attention.
So as we think about next year, the things one should aim at, what I've heard you, I think you said it on the High Performance podcast, you said you're really obsessed with understanding what success actually is. So I also, just before we go into the more practical things, if someone sat at home, and I know people come up to you on your tours and ask you questions like this a lot, if they're sat at home trying to figure out what success actually is for them, is there a framework or a principle or a method to figure out what it might mean for them? I've heard you talk about two ideas, which I love, which is the region beta paradox, but also the parable of the Mexican fisherman, which I think both stayed with me in a profound way.
Yeah, so 3 things: success, region beta, Mexican fisherman. What success looks like for any individual person is going to be different. For you, knowing that you really want a family, there's people out there that are like, I'm not that fussed. I don't think that that's on the cards for me, and that's fine. Other people might really, really want to put the workload down and step off and go and do the dad or the mum thing. Unfortunately, you can't take somebody else's purpose or success. Like that's you can't wear it as a suit. It's a bad idea, right? Because it's going to not fit. And wonderful line, let go or be dragged. If something doesn't fit, eventually it's going to hurt wearing it. And that means if you're not careful with how you design what it is that you chase after, you can spend your entire life realizing that you climbed a huge fucking ladder, a very, very long ladder that was leaning up against the wrong wall. And you need to ensure that you don't do that. And this is why we need to just sit with ourselves, sit with a little bit of reflection. And that's why this time in between Christmas and New Year, I think, is a really wonderful time to do this. So how do you work out what it is that you want to do? The big picture goals are going to be hard for you to get to. But if you just think 1 year ahead, what do I want over the next 12 months? I think that usually helps you. And maybe you want to be in a relationship. I want to be in a committed relationship with someone who really loves me. Okay, now we can start to talk about a plan to do that. But you need to have a little bit of silence. It's like a problem with permanently being busy stops you from being able to listen to fleeting thoughts that are in the back of your mind. And that quiet voice is usually the really powerful one. But there's a wonderful line, the answers you seek are in the silence you're avoiding. The answers that you seek are in the silence you're avoiding.
Do you meditate?
Of course.
You do?
Yes. Yeah. Do you?
No.
Do you wish you did?
I think the definition of meditation is quite blurry, because for me, when I will have a shower for like 30 minutes and all I'm doing in there is thinking. I'm not cleaning. Like I'm clean after 5 minutes.
I was going to say, suggests that you come out of the shower not clean, but with great ideas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, but I mean, you get clean in like 5 minutes, but then I spend the other 25 minutes because there's something about the water falling and the alone time that drops me into a spiral of thinking, which I think is my version of meditation. Then treadmills and the stepper at the gym.
Treadmills are great. Yeah.
My version of meditation.
Shower thoughts are overrated. Toilet thoughts are underrated.
The other thing that I love that you talk about is when we talk about metrics of success, you talk about observable metrics and hidden metrics of success.
Yeah. So a lot of the time we'll trade a hidden metric for an observable metric. Something that's observable would be your job title, what your salary is per year, how many people know you, your bank balance, the size of your house, the car that you drive.
Things people can see.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
The only way that your success can be judged is outwardly. So naturally, we trade something which people can't see for something that they can see. For instance, lots of people would trade a longer commute for a higher salary or a better job title. One of the problems that you encounter with that is that the length of your commute is one of the most correlated stats with your happiness. Longer commutes reliably make people more miserable. And what's the hidden metric that you've lost by doing that? Well, that's less time with your family, with maybe your kids that are growing up, with your wife to connect. That's less time to pursue your own passions, even if your job is your passion. So what about a more stressful career? Going to move into a different industry that's way more stressful, but it pays more. Observable metric. What's the hidden metric? What about the peace of mind that you have as you go to sleep at night? What about what that does to your health and the quality of your relationships and your ability to be present on a weekend? So you're not able to turn your phone off because your last job was 9 to 5, but this one is 24/7. Well, it's difficult to say because you're like, people want and need real resources. I want to improve the quality of my family. That's a noble thing to do. But after a while, you have to admit, if you already live a comfortable quality of life and you trade it, you trade your happiness or your peace in order to get more, you're making a bad choice because you're going to sacrifice something that you want, which is happiness, peace, connection, for something that's supposed to get the thing that you want, which is money, job title, bigger car.
Which I think links to this story of the Mexican fisher.
Yeah, parable of the Mexican fisherman. An American businessman was away on a holiday in Mexico and he got taken out by a fisherman. And he asked the fisherman, so what do you do each day? The fisherman said, I spend each morning out on the water, I fish a little, I catch some food, I take it home, and I sit in my house with my wife and my family, and we eat what I've caught for the day. The American says, that's stupid. This is a stupid idea. What you should do is you should get a bigger boat, and then you could catch more fish, and then you could go sell it at the market. The fisherman said, why would I do that? He said, well, once you've sold it at the market, you could buy some more boats and you could get your friends to come and work for you and then they could catch more fish and you could start to sell it wholesale. The fisherman said, why would I do that? So, well, then you could create a canning factory and you could export it back to the UK and you could have a huge business. The fisherman said, why would I do that? So, well, then you would be able to retire and fish a little on a morning, catch some fish and then spend the afternoon with your family. And it's the same lesson as Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist, which is this young boy goes on a huge, big journey and he finds out the thing that he was looking for was in the back garden all along. But that's an unteachable lesson. And the big lesson behind The Alchemist is going on a massive journey to end up back where you started is not the same as having never left. And this is what an unteachable lesson is. You have to go to the top of the mountain to get up there and go, oh, damn it. Damn it, like I thought that was going to be the answer. But now that it's not, I can rid myself of that. I've crossed it off. And it's so unpopular. It's so unpopular to talk about this online because everybody that doesn't have a thing assumes that the thing will fix their problems and that the people who have got there, achieved it, and say that it didn't are ungrateful. Like, oh my God, the thing that I want, and they're just casting it away. Like, how dare you? How dare you say that the thing that I know I want isn't the answer to my problems? And yet, reliably, everybody that gets there says it's not the answer.
Agreed.
It's very true.
Well stated. Very well.
Just thinking back to all the goals that I wrote in my diary at 18 years old, and then it's no surprise that I have none of those things now. They're all like material things and outcomes I was looking for, but...
Let me give you another one. A great question to reflect on. Knowing what I know now, what advice would I give myself 12 months ago?
Do you know what mine would be? Mine would be around prioritization. It would really be around saying no. Like, we don't really teach, it goes back to what you're saying about adding and subtracting, but my life would be much better if I was even 10% better at saying no to things. It would be so much better. I'd be so much more successful. The upside isn't like 10% upside, it's like 50, 100% upside because of the compounding force of focus.
Okay, so that's what advice you would have given yourself 12 months ago knowing what you know now.
Yeah.
Guess what?
What?
It's almost certainly what you need to hear right now.
100%, yeah.
The big problems are the big problems. In the same way that you've got the feet that you had a decade ago, the big drivers, psychologically for you.
Leave a like and comment if you want to see more of this. Peace.